Good morning, Year 4. We're going to do our next maths lesson today. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so we're going to start off as normal with our Flashback 4. So have your, you could perhaps do this at the back of your maths book. So the first question says multiply 72 by 10. And that should be quite straightforward because we were doing that yesterday, weren't we? Number 2 says calculate the perimeter of the rectangle. Can you remember what the perimeter is? Remember, it's to do with distance and a measurement. Number 3, find the difference between 2,800 and 1,300. Now remember, when it says difference, think to yourself, what kind of calculation is this? Number 4, calculate 1/3 of 18. That's a bit more tricky because we haven't done fractions since year 3. And finally, nice and easy, 4 times 12. Nice times table there, so you get that one nice and very quickly, hopefully. So pause the video and have a go at that now. Well done. So let's go through our answers for Flashback 4. So multiplying 72 by 10 would be 720. Now remember, calculating the perimeter is the distance around the edge of a closed 2D shape. Okay, and we've got a rectangle here, so it's the distance around that rectangle. And the distance here is 24 centimetres. Find the difference between 2,800 and 1,300. Well, remember, you could draw a bar model to help you with this, but you want to take 1,300 away from 2,800, and you'd be left with 1,500. Remember, you could check that using the inverse, couldn't you? So if you added 1,300 and 1,500 together, you would end up with 2,800. Now, this is the tricky one. Calculate 1/3 of 18. You haven't done this since year 3. So you would take your 18, you would divide it by 3, and the answer is 6. So 1/3 of 18 is 6. And finally, nice and straightforward. Oh, that's just moved. 4 times 12 is, of course, 48. Okay, so let's start our lesson today. So today's learning objective is to multiply by 10 and then in brackets RPS. You remember what that means. It means reasoning and problem solving. That's what we're going to be doing in today's lesson. So could you write that LO down now and underline it using your ruler? Today's date is the 6th of the 1st, 2021. So you can write that in your margin. Pause the video and do that now. Well done. Right, now what you can do, if you've got a purple pen, you can do this in purple, but if you don't, you can do it in your usual pencil. We're going to write review, and your review is from yesterday. This is what I'd like you to do. I want you to match the bar models to the correct multiplication. So we have 5 times 10, 10 times 9, and 6 times 10. Or we've got another way of saying it would be 5 lots of 10, 10 lots of 9, or 9 lots of 10, and 6 lots of 10 or 10 lots of 6. Okay, so I'd like you to see if you can match those up. You could write it like this: A equals, and then write the calculation, or B equals and write the calculation, or C equals and write the calculation. Pause the video and have a go at that now. Well done. So let's do it now. I'm going to draw some lines to go through the answers. So let's look at the first one. A, we've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups or 5 lots of 10. So this should go with this one. Here we have lots of 6s. How many lots of 6 do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, this says 6 groups of 10. Actually, it probably should say 10 groups of 6. And finally here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups of 10, which again, it should say 9 groups of 10, but that would mix like that. Okay, let's move on now. We're going to start our explore today, and our explore is where we're going to be looking, we're going to be reminding ourselves about what we learned yesterday, and we're going to be trying some problem solving questions. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves about what we do when we multiply a number by 10. Now remember, when we multiply a number by 10, it becomes 10 times bigger. And the really key thing that we need to remember that in our place value grid, which we can see here, the digits, the numbers move one place to the left when they are multiplied by 10. So I've written a STEM sentence below, and you might want to copy this into your books if you can't remember it. It says, when a number is multiplied by 10, it moves one place to the left on the place value chart. It might be a good idea to pause the video now and to copy that into your books. You might also want to say it a couple of times out loud, perhaps tell your grown-up, so it really sticks in your mind. So pause the video now and copy that STEM sentence, please, into your books. Well done. Okay, now let's just remind ourselves what a bar model would look like when we're looking at calculations like this. So 14 times 10, we can write that as a bar model to help us show our maths, but there's two ways we could do it. Why don't you pause the video now and have a go at the two ways you could draw this as a bar model? And remember, if you've got a ruler, use your ruler to do your bar modelling. Well done. So if you're doing your bar model, it should hopefully look a little bit like this. One of them could look like this. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 lots of 14, or 10 groups of 14. The other way I could do it was the other way around. I could do 14 lots of 10, or 14 groups of 10. And that would make exactly the same answer. The values would be exactly the same. Why don't you pause the video now and work out what 14 times 10 would be? Right, well done. 14 times 10 would obviously equal 140. I know this because 10 times by 10 equals 100 and 4 times by 10 equals 40. And when I add those two together, the answer is 140. Right, let's move on to a little bit of problem solving now. We're going to be looking at some questions now, which is going to need you to answer using a paragraph in your books. And we're going to be using that STEM sentence, which we always use in year 4, which is I know this because. So in all your answers today, I will see you have written I know this because in each answer. You will need to do that, but you'll also need to do the maths. You'll also need to show me the calculation as well. Because remember, when we read them out in class, I always say the best ones, the best answers are the ones where you've read out your calculation as well as saying I know this because. Now our first one here is a odd one out question. So it says this, which representation is the odd one out? So pause the video now and have a little think. What do you think is the odd one out? Well done. So let's look at each one. A represents a number. We've got a number of tens in the tens column. Let's count up how many we've got. We've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. In total, we have 60. Let's look at C. We have a bar model here. We have lots of groups of 6. Let's how many groups of 6 there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 groups of 6, which would equal 6. Let's look at B. We have some deans here. Let's count the deans. Each one has 10 in it. So there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. There are 8 groups of 10, which means there are 80. So now we can clearly see which one is the odd one out. B is the odd one out. And this is how I would answer that question. I would need to use this STEM sentence. It is the odd one out. I know this because. Pause the video now and see if you can answer that question using that STEM sentence. Well done. Let's see if your answer looks like my answer. Now, it might not look exactly like my answer, but as long as it's along the right line. So get your purple pen now and be ready to mark your Explore question 1. I've answered it like this. B is the odd one out. I know this because the representation shows 10 times 8, which equals 80, but A and C show 10 times 6, which equals 60. So your answer would say roughly the same sort of thing. Let's go on to our next Explore question. Explore question number 2. Okay, now here we've got a 2-step problem. Now remember what that means here for. It means you're going to have to do 2 bits of mathematics in this question. So let's read it together and then you'll pause the video to have a little bit of a think. Now remember, when you have questions like this, if you had it in front of you, I'd ask you to probably highlight the key parts of it. So you might want to do that if you print this off, or you can point with your finger to the main parts of the question. Callum buys 16 packets of Jaffa cakes. Each of Callum's packs contains 10 cakes. Violet buys 10 packs of Jaffa cakes. Each of Violet's pack contains 14 cakes. How many Jaffa cakes do they have all together? So I'm going to highlight my key things that I want to think about here. We've got 16 packs of Jaffa cakes with 10 cakes in them. And then we've got 10 packs of Jaffa cakes with 14 in it. And then we have this special word here, don't we? How much they have all together. Now, when I look at that, I know what kind of question it's going to be. I know we're going to need to work out the 10 times 16 and the 10 times 14, and then I'm going to have to add those 2 totals together, because when I see the word altogether, I know it's an addition problem. So let's have a look. Callum's total is what? Why don't you work that out now? So pause the video and see if you can work out how many Jaffa cakes Callum has. Well done. So in total, Callum has 16 times 10, and I know that 16 times 10 is 160. So he has 160 Jaffa cakes. Violet has got 10 packs of 14 cakes, sorry. So she has got 140. Now I need to add those 2 together, so I'm going to put them down here. I'm going to be adding together 140 and 160. Now when I add those 2 together, I'm going to use my big maths now. I know that 4 add 6 equals 10, and I know 100 and 100 equals 200. So in total, I know that I've got 300. So let's just see. So I'd like you to have a go now at answering that question. Now remember, what is the key part of the sentence I'm going to need to see? I know this because. So have a go at answering this question, and remember, you're writing in full sentences just like you would in English. So you'll need to say Callum and Violet, and you might need to use the word altogether. Off you go. Well done. Now I'm going to show you my answer now. We'll see if yours looks similar. Altogether, Callum and Violet have bought 300 Jaffa cakes. I know this because 140 and 160 equals 300. Let's go on to our next question. Now our next question, again, you're going to use the stem sentence, I know this because. And this time we have 2 people, Kathy and Mia, and they are arguing about who has the most sweets. Kathy and Mia have bought sweets for a party. Kathy says, I bought more because I have 10 lots of 24 sweets. Mia says, I bought more because I have 24 lots of 10 sweets. Who has bought the most? Prove it. Pause the video now and see if you can work out how many sweets each one has. Well done. So let's work out how many sweets each girl has got. Kathy has got 10 lots of 24. So she has got 10 times 24, which equals. Mia has 24 times 10, which we know is 240. So it looks to me like they've both got exactly the same amount of sweets. Pause the video now and have a go at answering that question, please, using the stem sentence, I know this because. Well done. Let's have a go now and look at my answer to see what I said. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Mia and Kathy have the same amount of sweets. I know this because 10 lots of 24 is 240 and 24 lots of 10 is 240. Let's go on to our final question now, which is a little bit more tricky. I'm going to read it to you now. You need to think very carefully about this one. Tom buys a pack of football cards. There are 10 cards in a pack. He needs 245 cards to fill his football album. His mum buys him 23 more packs. Does Tom have enough cards to fill his album? Explain how you know. Pause the video and have a little think about that. Okay, now let's think first of all. Let's highlight some of the key words here because I think it's going to help us. Tom buys a pack. That means he buys one pack of football cards and there are 10 cards in that one pack. So in total, how many cards does he have? Well, he has one pack of 10 cards. He needs 245 to feel happy and to fill his album. And so his mum buys him 23 more packs. That's quite generous, wasn't it, of mum? Let's see how many cards he would have in that. Well, if he has 23 cards, 23 packs, he would have 230 cards. Does Tom have enough cards to fill his album? Now, what we're going to have to do here is, let's just do a two-step question. We're going to have to add these totals together, 10 and 230, which is nice and straightforward. So let's work that out. 230 add 10 is 240. So pause the video now and answer this question. Do you think Tom has enough cards to fill his album? And explain exactly how you know. You're going to need to use that stem sentence, I know this because. Well done. Let's see if your answer looks like my answer. Tom doesn't have enough cards as he has 240 cards. I know this because in his first pack he has 10 cards, then his mum bought him 23 packs which made 230 cards. 230 add 10 equals 240. Right. Now we've worked through these questions and I haven't going to give you a checkpoint today. Instead, I'd like you to have a go at these 4 questions, which are similar to the ones we've just done. So if you find them tricky at any point, rewind this video and find when I did this type of question before. Questions 1, 2 and 3 are like the ones I've demonstrated. But question 4 is a bit different, so you might have to think a little bit about that independently. Okay. So have a go now, pause the video and have a go at those questions. When you have finished those, there is a little challenge for you today, which I'm going to post on Dojo. I'm giving you the ultimate times table challenge today, and it is filled with so many times table questions. This is what I'd like you to do, and this is a real challenge. We're going to do this each week. I want to see how many you can complete in 5 minutes, so set a timer and see how many you can get right. Then after 5 minutes, look and see the ones you've done. Then you can just carry on and finish them. Finish them all, try and answer all the questions, even if you have to stop and work them out, even if you don't know them straight away, because we want you to learn all of your times tables. And then I'll post on Dojo the answers so you can mark to see how well you've done. And I'd love to know exactly how many you've got correct so you can tell me all about it. So you have 2 things to do today. You've got, first of all, your answers to do here, and then you've got your ultimate times table challenge. Pause the video now and have a go at these questions. Well done. Okay, now that you've answered those questions, now you can look at the answers and you can mark it. Please take a purple pen or a different colour pen and have a go at answering or marking what you've done. Then later on, if you take a photograph of what you've done and send it in to myself and Miss Pearce so we can have a see how you've got on today. Again, if you've had any difficulties, don't forget you can Dojo us and we can have a chat about it at some point. Okay, right. I look forward to seeing your work later on Year 4 and I'll speak to you soon.